One of the great joys of ministry is getting to see that confluence, that place where people's gifts and their graces and their passions come together with the needs of the community and the work of the kingdom. And in my time at Point Pleasant, in my extended time at Point Pleasant, I've seen those passions become a community garden, an organic community garden that puts over 2 tons of organic produce into the local food bank every year. Not to mention the amount of food they put on the tables of parishioners and neighbors who are not related to the church except by geography. I've seen those passions and gifts come together and form a preschool, a no-charge preschool taught by a credentialed teacher, where the kids learn their numbers and their letters and stuff in 4 languages, because in our little country church, we have kids with 4 first languages.
It's hard to say one thing because I love preaching. I love sitting with people and finding out all about them, what their joys are and their concerns are. I love mission, and I love the church reaching out into the local community and helping people. I love Bible studies, but when I was interning, still in seminary, the question I asked my mentor was, my one concern in being a pastor in a church is, am I going to be able to love the people in the church enough? And he said, just be present with them. And so my greatest joy has been walking with people in every congregation I've ever served.
I really enjoyed every congregation I have served, of course, and the diversity of people I've been privileged to serve. Great ethnic diversity and cultural diversity. But what has brought me the greatest joy is being a missionary, a conference missionary, working and forming the side-by-side with the homeless program that I served out of Loaves and Fishes in Sacramento, where I got to journey along with people who don't have permanent housing that came to Loaves and Fishes for survival services. And my volunteers and I were there to walk beside them and help them with their spiritual journey as they went along. And I did a lot of training with volunteers. I got to accompany many different groups, confirmation classes and adults, and show them life from another angle, from the street up. And I was taken in and blessed by all the people that I served there, the guests of Loaves and Fishes and the staff.
I guess if I could impart a couple of things, one would be that every person who walks through the door of that church, whatever church or whatever place you're serving, whoever walks through that door is either a godsend or a friend send, and they need to be treated and welcomed accordingly. One of the things I've learned is that often people don't even know why they come to church, and often I don't know why they come to church. But I know that nobody comes to a church by accident, that there's a reason, and maybe we get to see it and maybe we don't. But our job is to welcome whoever comes to those doors, as well as reaching outside of those doors.
I think the most important things for anyone in ministry are character and integrity. And, Paul says, if you don't have love, it's like a clashing cymbal. I would turn it around and I would say, you love the congregation, but if you don't have character, integrity, your love is empty.
I would advise that anybody starting off or anybody seeking to deepen their own spiritual journey, but especially our clergy brothers and sisters, to establish your own rhythm or rule of life. Like St. Benedict said, that establish a regular rhythm of prayer and contemplation and silence and taking time out for oneself to renew one's spirit on a regular basis, and set that in place early on and hang with it, because that's going to provide them the spiritual nourishment and the grounding that they need to keep doing what we do without burning out, and keeping God and Christ center focus in all that we do. and not forget who we are and whose we are, and always coming back to that center. So establishing that rhythm of life is important to do early on and stay with it.
A couple of up things and a couple of not up things. I had the privilege of serving on the district committee for ordained ministry, and I was able to do that from the moment I was ordained elder. And I did that for years, and I stopped that, and I'm sad that I stopped. But I'm sadder still for the reasons I stopped. I was told by some of my colleagues that the questions I asked the ministry candidates were too difficult or too hard. And the questions I asked the ministry candidates were the ones that my parishioners asked me at the door or asked me in my office. I want to share some good news with you. I had the great fortune for about 4 years of being a part of a group of clergy who gathered at 7 or 7:30 on Thursday mornings at First Church in Sacramento. And I had fellowship with colleagues like I never had before, and I've never had since. I had the pleasure of time with Ted Wirtz, and with Kathy McShane, and with Kelly Love. Those were times and days that I will treasure absolutely forever. And last but by no means least, I am thankful that after years of working with and talking to the cabinet that served under Bishop Brown and with Bishop Brown, I was able to have them engage with me in an experiment, in a different way of doing succession for long-term pastors. And so for the last 2 years, Dave Samuelson, in a very, very limited way, because his DS duties were 100% of his time, has come alongside and gotten to know the people and gotten to love the people and gotten to share part of himself. And I believe that's going to make the transition for me into retirement at least tolerable. But even with this, it's an incredibly difficult transition, at least for me. So as I finish my 22 years at serving the Point Pleasant Church and serving with them, I pray God's fullest blessings on Dave Samuelson and on Sonia and on T and on all of you who hear this, because you are the church, and may God's blessing rest on you now and forever. Amen.
I just want to thank the annual conference so much. I came here from the Central Texas Conference, and this conference has allowed me to be challenged and to contribute and to have wonderful churches to serve and to feel at home. The people, the colleagues I have met in this conference are absolutely wonderful. So a big thank you to this conference.
It's been a real privilege to serve among the people and my colleagues, and I would just want to thank all of them for their support, for your support while I was moving along through the side-by-side ministry with the homeless, and just so grateful to have been a part of with all of you along this whole journey. And it's been a privilege. Thank you.